Chapter 289, What is Enlightenment and How to Level Up 1? Zhu Tui began to prepare for the clearing mission in an orderly manner. It was actually easy to prepare big items. It was a little troublesome to get the small items ready. He might not be able to use these things, but he had to prepare them. For example, a folded machete, a high-hardness folding shovel, and lighting equipment. Another example was the civilian precision flamethrower. The current wilderness was even more primitive than a primeval forest. However, most animals and plants still had the characteristic of being afraid of fire. This was especially so when they were faced with the attacks of a group of animals and plants. They had to prepare this kind of civilian precision flamethrower. Buying this was not expensive. However, the troublesome thing was that he had to register with his real name before he could purchase it. Fortunately, Zhuang Ziking had been busy with the preparations. Zhu Tui did not spend too much energy on the occasional cooperation. He mainly cultivated. Recently, Zhu Tui had been sensing the original quantum frequency of the mountain. He would go to the mountain of the research center of the School of General Senses every day and slowly sense his surroundings. In the dead of the night, Zhu Tui would go to this small mountain that was known as the primordial mountain to sense the original quantum frequency of the mountain. However, it was only at this moment that Zhu Tui realized how difficult it was to train in the perception instantiation. Zhu Tui only used an hour to sense the original quantum frequency of the growth of his flesh and blood. It took Zhu Tui about 10 days to completely sense the original quantum frequency of his body. However, it had been 10 days since he began sensing the mountain's original quantum frequency. Zhu Tui still gained nothing. Yes, he sensed nothing. The mountain beneath his feet was a cold mixture of soil, stone, and various substances. There was no life. He did not sense any original quantum frequencies. Zhu Tui had asked Ku Qingshan about this before. Ku Qingshan's answer was that the original quantum frequency of the mountain was very slow. Among the 5 basic original quantum frequencies of mountains, water, wind, fire, and wood, mountains were the most difficult to sense. Currently, the fastest record for sensing the original quantum frequency of a mountain was 3 months and 23 days, close to 4 months. The average time that all the students took to sense the original quantum frequency of the mountain in the School of General Senses over the years was 8 months. Some had sensed it for 3 years but did not gain anything. So they gave up and changed to another school. The longest record was Ji Gi. He sat in meditation for 5 years. 5 years later, he shocked the world. Once he appeared, he suppressed all those of the same year. Therefore, in Ku Qingshan's opinion, it was very normal for Zhu Tui to not be able to sense the original quantum frequency of the mountain even after a month, 2 months, or 3 months. It was seriously abnormal to sense the original quantum frequency of the mountain in 10 days. Secondly, it was related to enlightenment. Enlightenment was something that could not be seen or touched. No one could explain it. However, Ku Qingshan said that enlightenment was very important to the School of General Senses. Those who had the enlightened mind would be able to cultivate twice the result with half the effort. This was also the reason why Ku Qingshan thought highly of Zhu Tui's choice of the School of General Senses. However, Ku Qingshan only had a rough idea of what enlightened mind was, so he could not explain it clearly. Enlightened mind and comprehension were actually similar. Then what exactly was enlightened mind? Zhu Tui had been sitting and sensing the small mountain for the past 10 days, but he did not feel anything. He felt a little anxious. He was full of admiration for Senior Ji Gi, who had sat there for 5 years. So what exactly was enlightened mind? With this question in mind, Zhu Tui went straight to Bian Yuan, the assistant form teacher of the School of Enlightened Mind. The teaching ability was one of the most impressive aspects of the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. It would be a waste not to use it. Zhu Tui now had an extremely clear understanding of the various departments within the Wuxia Genetic Evolution College. For example, the strongest teacher in the School of Enlightened Mind would definitely be in Zhaok Saxui. However, this strength was an ability. It referred to the battle power of the School of Enlightened Mind that specialized in mind power. But what about the theoretical aspect? Who was the strongest? Where was Bian Yuan? Mr. Bian Yuan might be unlucky, or he might be less talented. Up until now, he had activated a lot of genetic base points, but not much was related to mind power. He had been cultivating diligently, but because he did not have any talented genetic base points, his mind power was not high. He did not have a powerful mind power related ability. Therefore, all these years, Mr. Bian Yuan was focused on theoretical research. Who was the strongest in theory in the School of Enlightened Mind? It would definitely be Mr. Bian Yuan. Zhu Tui found Bian Yuan in his office. When he found Bian Yuan, he was reading a book on his desk. He looked at a paper book that looked very old. The entire office was filled with books. Many of the papers emitted a rotten smell. There were also some very old memory cards. There were a large number of e-books stored there. Zhu Tui, you're here. Sit. What's the matter? Bian Yuan raised his head from the sea of books and adjusted his thick black-framed glasses as he spoke. Mr. Bian, I want to ask you a question. You want to ask me questions? Bian Yuan smiled honestly. Zhu Tui, I am not qualified to answer your questions regarding cultivation. You should look for Professor N. No, it's about the School of Enlightened Mind. I can try to answer such questions for you. Tell me what you want to ask. Bian Yuan sat up straight and adjusted his black-framed glasses.